Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special live edition of the Gibby podcast. I'm your host, Zach McGibby, and I'm going to bring you today a bunch of things. It's going to be a massive show tonight. So the first thing we're going to do for this show is we're going to do a Raw review from June 23rd, since I did not do that this week. Then we're going to do a TNA Impact review. And then finally, we're going to be taking over some of the Twitter questions that were sent to me over the past couple of days. And then finally, we'll just wrap things up with the news and rumors of the day, from the week, sorry. So let's start out with the Raw review. So this was the June 23rd Raw. This was a solid Raw, in my opinion. Great stuff happened. Unfortunately, this was the Raw where Vicky Guerrero was not around anymore. So let's start out. We first have to start off the match, the night. Sorry. The first thing we start out with is the Stephanie McMahon promo. Stephanie McMahon came out and was essentially tempting Vicky Guerrero with firing her. This was interesting promo. There was great stuff that happened. A bit of a tribute to Eddie Guerrero, which was very nice to see. And it was just solid. And so it's great. It's amazing to me. I tweeted this out. It's amazing to me that Vicky Guerrero can go from bona fide heel for many years to a babyface in one night. And HWD podcast, Harrell Wrestling podcast, go check them out, tweeted out that this just goes to show how great of a heel Stephanie McMahon is, and I completely agree with that. Stephanie McMahon is a great heel because she's able to make Vicky Guerrero a hated person and storyline throughout her entire career, be able to look like a baby face within a single day. So it was just great stuff. I was a little bit worried about them using Eddie Guerrero a little bit because I thought maybe it was not going to be using him in vain. But then I remember Stephanie saying maybe Eddie deserves that respect, but you don't. That was a good little section to make it more relevant to Vicky Guerrero. So this was a good segment to start off the show, and the babyface pop for Vicky Guerrero was actually kind of surprising to me, but it was still very much solid. So we'll move on to the next segment of the show, and that segment was, excuse me one second here, and the next segment of that show was Jimmy Uso versus Luke Harper. This was a very quick match, like really quick. Luke Harper won with the discus clothesline. This just essentially set up the next match, which was Jey Uso versus Eric Rowan. But this was just way too short. If you're not going to have a long match with these guys, might as well not have them in a match at all. Essentially, this just set up the next match, which was Eric Rowan and Jey Uso. Not really much else to say. But yeah, it was just very short and obviously not very memorable. So we'll go straight to the next match, which was Jey Uso and Luke Harper. This was a bit longer and a lot more happened. You had the Wyatt family doing a lot of things to the Usos, and just unbelievably, a lot of stuff happened throughout this entire show, this match, sorry, and it was a little bit entertaining. What really stood out to me in my mind was the end of the match, in which Eric Rowan and Luke Harper attacked the Usos and then picked up the title belts. and held them up. It really gave you that image of, oh my gosh, they may be the champions going into Money in the Bank, and I do think they will be the champions going into Money in the Bank. Sorry, coming out of Money in the Bank, but we'll see. It was and you had Bray Wyatt congratulating them at the end of the match through the Titantron. And this could be, they were essentially kind of teasing how it could be the Wyatt's night on Monday on Money in the Bank. So it was definitely interesting. And it was a good little segment. Just wish they could have presented the matches a little bit better. But other than that, it was a solid segment at the end. The match itself was not too bad. Could have been better, but obviously it could have been a lot worse. So yeah, it was just there's a lot of things that could have gotten better. So the next segment in the match in the show was Naomi versus Alicia Fox. This was a good wrestling match. The problem was that the whole thing was taken over by the commentary, which I can be fine with, but it just got so annoying to the point where it was just unbearable to listen to. And I understand that Cameron is trying to play that heel role, but it was just so annoying, and I couldn't bear to listen to any more of it. And when you were actually watching the match, it was actually not too bad of a match. Actually, there was actually some good things that happened during the match. It was just all you remember from that was the bickering between Cameron and Paige and Michael Cole and JBL and Jerry the King Lawler. And so it was just kind of took away from that match feeling, and that's why commentary is so important in wrestling in general, actually, because the commentary needs to help put over guys, and if you can't have that, it's just going to be chaos, because even if the match is really good, if the commentary doesn't care, why should I care about this match? So I felt bad for Naomi and Alicia Fox because they did put on a good match, and I understand, Cameron saying, I'm the star of the show and all that. It's all playing to her character, but they have to do it in a better way so that the match itself can still shine through. So we had Naomi winning with the inverted DDT, and then Paige, went into the ring, essentially confronting Naomi, which essentially confirms Naomi versus Paige for Money in the Bank. I bet you Cameron's going to get involved some way by the way she was acting on commentary. So it was definitely interesting to see. Just some good storyline development and all that, and just good stuff all around. So the next match was Bo Dallas versus Titus O'Neil. I really liked this. I thought it was quite funny. It's just so disappointing to see how far Titus O'Neil has fallen. Just being a successful tag team with Darren Young as part of the Primetime Players, and now just being used in a limited role, which is quite disappointing because he definitely has the charisma and the in-ring ability to really make a name for himself, definitely in the mid-card scene. So it was definitely quite disappointing, but I just wish they could do more with Titus O'Neil because I think he does have some good wrestling ability. But it was great because Bo Dallas is totally embracing his character. It's awesome to watch. It's just so funny too to see him just absolutely embrace his character. Just a lot of stuff happening, and it was just a good little match to build up Bo Dallas more, to get him more over with the crowd. Just wish it was someone different than Titus O'Neil, because I definitely think he's a solid mid-carder at the very least. But Bo Dallas was hilarious because he, at the end of the match, he was trying to help him out, and then Titus O'Neil hit the microphone out of his hand, and then Bo Dallas, totally playing that character right, says, "Oh, sorry, Butterfingers." I just died laughing from hearing that. he's totally embraced his character, and I absolutely love it. Just great stuff from Bo Dallas, and I hope that there's more for Bo Dallas in the future. I don't know if it means title picture, because I don't know if his gimmick is ready for that yet. But definitely something in the mid card, because he's just absolutely hilarious. So the next match we have, or the next segment, sorry, is Triple H's Money in the Bank announcement. Him announcing the competitors to participate in the Money in the Bank ladder match. So the competitors are, as named here, Kofi Kingston, Jack Swagger, Dolph Ziggler, Rob Van Dam, and Bad News Barrett, and they are all in part joining Seth Rollins in the match. So this was just essentially Triple H being Triple H, and then him saying that we all know who's going to win, and that's going to be Seth Rollins. But before he did that, he insulted Rob Van Dam, which was a little bit interesting to see that he would do that. But it was interesting because Rollins came in, and then he was talking about how he was going to win and how he did sell out and all this. And then Van Dam came out, and he said, Rollins said to Van Dam, "I would take you seriously if this was 2005." That was a good little burn on Rob Van Dam. But RVD came back with a little bit of his own, but it wasn't really that good of a comeback. But it was kind of signaling some tension, which kind of interests me, because maybe they're building for something. I don't know. Laying down some seeds. Just saying. But it's definitely interesting to see what they're going to do here with Rollins, and it's going to be interesting to see how Van Dam will affect the outcome of the match, and also later on, I won't spoil it now, but later on something happens that makes it even more intriguing for the ladder match. So I'll get to that later, but for now, it was essentially just announcing the Money in the Bank competitors. So next segment we have was the Rob Van Dam versus Seth Rollins match. Solid match, very good match. Van Dam really improved a lot. I was a little surprised because Van Dam hasn't been that solid since he's come back, because he's kind of been a little bit uncoordinated with his moves and just not very smooth, and that's not really Rob Van Dam's sort of way. But it was a lot better match, and Rollins and Van Dam had a great match. I'm not really digging into Seth Rollins' new ring gear, but I guess maybe it'll grow on me, because he just kind of looks like a tinier guy with that kind of ring gear. So it kind of, when I see him being for Money in the Bank, I'm not really kind of believing it, but that's just my personal opinion. But obviously, as it moves along, maybe I'll grow into it, but as of right now, I'm not really buying into the new ring gear. But anyways, the match, solid match. Good stuff happened. Solid match, and Rollins won, I believe. Or no, Ambrose interrupted, and Rollins was going to win, but Ambrose interrupted and attacked Rollins, and then he grabbed a microphone, and it was a great promo too by Ambrose. Just saying how he was going to beat Rollins, and how he was going to beat Rollins, and how he's not going, even if he's not in the Money in the Bank ladder match, he's still going to screw over Rollins as best as he can. So it was definitely a very powerful promo by Ambrose. We're starting to see more of that psychotic Ambrose from the independent scene when he was in CZW and all that. So that's quite awesome to watch. So definitely great stuff happened in this match. And Ambrose just again put on a solid promo. So yeah, definitely some great stuff happening. So the next match we had was definitely, in my opinion, the match of the night, which was Dolph Ziggler versus Bad News Barrett. Great match for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Great stuff. Definitely the thing that stuck out in that match was that incredible bull hammer. Just looked like he absolutely knocked out. He just looked like he just absolutely knocked out Dolph Ziggler. And obviously, because Ziggler sells really well, he looked like he got knocked out. Just awesome match. Great chemistry between the two, and it was just so awesome to watch. And it was cool to see the crucifix pin come back. A little bit of a weak crucifix pin, but still a crucifix pin nonetheless. So definitely some great stuff happening. And definitely, in my opinion, the match of the night. I think Wade Barrett should get rid of Wasteland because I don't think it's that great of a finisher, and just keep using the bull hammer because the bull hammer looks awesome when he does it. So he should definitely keep doing the bull hammer because it's a great move. And so Bad News Barrett retained the title from that bull hammer that looked like it almost knocked out Dolph Ziggler. So it was a great match, and just the problem with it is it was the same. They rebooked this match again for Ziggler because last week it was Rollins, and he faced Rollins on the SmackDown before that Raw, and now it was Barrett again, and he faced Barrett on the SmackDown before that. So I wish they could try and be a little bit more original on their booking, but definitely great match, and should definitely keep up with those matches. So the next match we had, well, if you could call it a match, was Vicky Guerrero versus Stephanie McMahon. This was essentially Vicky's final goodbye, and it was an interesting segment. I can't really say that much about it. It was just Vicky leaving. It was so great to hear Eddie Guerrero's music come back. It was so great to hear and all that. So I'm just so glad to hear that again. And at first it looked like a normal match, and then it turned. Stephanie McMahon came out and said that it was going to turn into essentially, I think it's like a mud pit match or whatever. I don't really care. And it would essentially be the first one to enter the pool of pudding or whatever it was. The first one to enter would be the loser, and Stephanie McMahon brought out her henchwomen, which was, I believe, Alicia Fox, Layla, and someone else. I can't remember, but and so it was interesting. It was just essentially the final curtain call for Vicky Guerrero. She went into the mud pit or pudding pit or whatever first, so therefore she had to leave the company forever, or she was fired, which was a little disappointing to see because Vicky Guerrero is a great heel, but apparently she wanted to move on, and she was actually going to move on after WrestleMania, but I guess she decided to stay a little bit longer. So it was good. It was a good match, or it was a good little segment to bring Vicky Guerrero, put Vicky Guerrero off of TV and give her final curtain call. So definitely a good final hurrah. In terms of the match itself, what can I say? It wasn't good at all. But the way it was presented to give Vicky Guerrero her final call, good stuff. Good stuff. So the next match we had was Kofi Kingston versus Jack Swagger. This is essentially what they do to the Money in the Bank participants, where they face each other in one-on-one competition. This was not a very good match at all. Swagger looked sloppy, and Kingston looked sloppy too. It was just a very sloppy match, not smooth, and it looked really awkward. The wrestling. So when Jack Swagger finally locked in the Patriot Lock, It was I was so glad it was over because it was just sloppy. So I didn't really like that match. And I guess it's not really. I guess Ziggler and Swagger don't really have that great of chemistry as we could see. That or they just didn't really have the best of wrestling matches. So it was not a very good match, just very sloppy, and I was just so glad it was finally over. Um, and I want honestly I want Kofi Kingston to win the Money in the Bank briefcase. I know he's done nothing, but in 2009 he was looking like he was going to be the guy, and now he's just looked at as not the top guy anymore, which is quite disappointing. But what are you going to do? I mean, it's just disappointing for Kofi Kingston and Jack Swagger too, because he won the World Heavyweight Championship and he just fell downwards because WWE booked him horribly, having him lose a lot, making him look like a weak champion. And so maybe this match kind of really brings them back, puts them back into that contention, put them back into that relevancy. I hope it will, but you never know. But yeah, the match was sloppy. You wouldn't want to watch this match on a replay. So the next match we had was Big E versus Damian Sandow. God help me all. Another stupid Sandow promo thing where Sandow was dressed as Abraham Lincoln because they were in Washington, D.C., so they have to make a joke about one of the presidents. My God, this was so bad. And Sandow looked like he did not want to be there at all. Like Sandow, like he didn't deliver his lines very funny at all. Like he kind of just rushed into his lines. Like 7 years ago, I was told that you all don't find me entertaining. Like it wasn't the Sandow that we kind of usually know and love. Probably because he knows that the gimmick he's in is absolutely stupid and shouldn't be used at all. Just absolutely stupid. I didn't like it at all. Big E just destroyed Damian Sandow. The only real funny thing was him actually wrestling in the costume, which kind of got a chuckle out of me. But it's still absolutely stupid, and they shouldn't have done that. And it's just I did not like this match at all. But Big E got a win, and he was actually going to get an interview, and Big E took the microphone away from Tom Phillips, I believe, and then he gave a very presidential speech, but by the way he was talking, he sounded like Triple H from 1999, just with the and just it was absolutely stupid the way he talked. It was just kind of not unbelievable. It was just just very too pro-America, which was clearly setting up for Rusev to come in. But when Lana came out and then Rusev attacked Big E, that was a little bit more entertaining. But they're probably setting up a Big E versus Rusev match, which I would actually really want to see. So I'm hoping that'll be a good match. So hopefully we all get a good match out of Big E and Rusev especially. But now since Bad News Barrett is out, Rusev may get that spot. Who knows? Maybe Bo Dallas, someone. But you never know. So yeah, the segment afterwards, not including the Big E one, was okay, but you never know. So moving on to the final match of the night, which was the 4-on-3 handicap main event, again from SmackDown. So very creative booking here. So we had the 4-on-3 handicap main event, which it was John Cena, Roman Reigns, and Sheamus as the 3, versus Randy Orton, Alberto Del Rio, Cesaro, and Bray Wyatt as the 4. This was a solid match. Not the best match of the night in my opinion, but still a great match. I just found it a little bit too predictable because I knew there was going to be the Reigns hot tag and all that. So the match itself was all right. Sheamus pinned Cesaro. So goes to show how much WWE is showing that Cesaro is a future world champion, as they're apparently trying to book him. Just saying. So it was not too bad. I wish it could have been better, a little bit better, like because it was a bit too predictable for me. The end is really what sealed it for me, as it was interesting because Kane randomly went out and just totally destroyed everybody. And then Triple H came out and announced that Kane was going to enter that match, the Money in the Bank match, as the 8th participant. And but then Reigns actually got better, and I believe he speared Kane. It was interesting to see Reigns rise ahead. I don't know if they're going to give Reigns a title run, but I think the smart choice would be Cena. But you never know. So that was the Raw review. I'd give the Raw out of 10 probably a 7.5 out of 10. It had some good stuff, like the Dolph Ziggler Bad News Barrett match was awesome. And the 4-on-3 handicap main event was actually pretty good. I just found it kind of a bit predictable, so it kind of hindered it for me. But then there was other stuff in the show, like Kofi Kingston and Jack Swagger and the Big E versus Damian Sandow match that kind of ruined it for me. So yeah, essentially my rating is 7.5 out of 10. Could have been in my opinion, could have been better, but you know it was not too bad. What did you guys think of that Raw? You can put it down into the description in the comments below. But this show is not over. Now I'm going to be moving on to the TNA Impact from Thursday. It was good TNA Impact. I liked it. Good stuff happened. Their shows have been getting a lot better recently. So I'm happy to see that their shows are getting better. But at the same time, I'm worried it's not going to last, because they're apparently, in my opinion, I think they're just doing all this good stuff right now because they need to get the viewership up so that they can re-sign with Spike TV. So if that's why their booking has been a lot better recently. So let's just move right into what happened during the show. So we open up this TNA Impact wrestling episode. Took place in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So we open up Impact last week. Bobby Lashley won the title from EY, and then afterwards Bobby Roode returned and came in for the save. And so essentially Impact opened with highlights from that, and then we moved on to a little segment with MVP and his team with Kenny King and Bobby Lashley arriving, and MVP was saying that they were going to celebrate, and he was saying that because Lashley earned it and led them to walk into the building. So the first match we had was a tag team women's match between the Beautiful People versus Gail Kim and Taryn Terrell. It was a good little match. Definitely a lot better than some of the women's matches going on in WWE currently. Some interesting stuff happened. I noticed too that Velvet was sporting a new tattoo on her arm. But there was a lot of things happening throughout the match, and eventually it was pinfall from Gail Kim on Angelina Love from the Eat Defeat, and just a nice little match. It was a good little match to start off TNA Impact, and yeah, it was just not really that memorable in my opinion, the match. But definitely some good stuff happened, and there was some great moves. Like, it was cool to see the straight jacket crossface it was in the match, so that was kind of cool. And so yeah, it was a good little match to start off the show. So then we go after the commercial break. A vignette airs, and TNA's Bound for Glory is going to be in Japan this year, which is an interesting move. But then we have Dixie Carter walking with security, and she was saying that she was in a good mood because she got confirmation that tonight is going to be a very good night for her, which kind of interested me when I first heard that. So I was kind of staying on my TV for TNA Impact, listening in. And then we had MVP and Kenny King making their way down to the ring. And MVP was saying he would like to take the moment to introduce the new world champion, Lashley, I believe they're calling him. By the way, what's the point of taking away the first name of wrestlers like Lashley and Rusev and Big E? Well, Big E's his first name, but what's the point of that? It's not really. I don't really find that a good idea. Just give them the full name. But anyways, they actually had women with them out, and just totally seizing the moment. And MVP was saying that it was official, and he has regained his power in TNA with Lashley winning the world title, and Kenny King having his hands full, yada yada yada. And he was saying that it didn't happen as quickly as he said it would, but at the end of the day, they didn't compromise, they conquered, and he said the world is ours. And MVP says last week some people stepped out of line, so they have to remind those people this week who maintains those lines. And then MVP said at the end of the night, EY is going to be begging to get out of the company, which I'm not really surprised because everybody really wants to get out of that company right now. But so a little bit of a good promo from MVP, but then Eric Young came out onto the stage and he had his arm in a sling after the attack that was put on him after the match, it's hard to see that promo, and the group needs a name. I don't know what, like something interesting, not some sort of like something relating to authority, just something like a good name that you'll be like, that's someone I should take really seriously. And so he was saying that he knew that with the world title, when holding the world title, politics and garbage wouldn't be far behind. But he just didn't think it was going to be this quick that he was going to lose the title, and I guess not a lot of people really did either, but he wasn't really that great of a champion, Eric Young. I mean, I like Eric Young, but I don't think he's main event material. But he's definitely a great mid-card wrestler and should stay in the mid-card, in my opinion. EY was saying then you can't fight City Hall, but he isn't looking to fight City Hall, so obviously referencing politics within TNA, and he's looking to tear it all down. And then EY took off his sling, hit the ring, and then Kenny King jumped onto EY, and then Lashley grabbed EY, held him, and King was just laying into him, and MVP was hitting him with a crutch. And then Rude then came out. Bobby Roode came out, jumped the guardrail, and then hit the ring, taking the crutch away. And then he was punching at MVP, but he ducked, and then he left, and Lashley also left with them. And then Bobby Roode just beat up Kenny King, who was still left there with the crutch that he took away. So then after that, we see that Rude and EY were still in the ring, and Rude was saying he's known EY for almost 20 years. He says that like with every friendship, he and EY have some up and downs. So then he was saying he was saying Rude loves the business, and the love for the world title is why Rude is standing in the ring right now. And he was saying the games are over, suspension or not. MVP's games are over. He says he isn't doing he isn't doing it just for he or EY. He's doing it for every one of the wrestling fans in TNA and every wrestler in the back. which was an interesting promo. So then we had MVP asking Rude if he truly loves TNA and loves working there. Um, he's Rude just cut was absolutely riveting, but he has made a big mistake, and he just repeated by coming back here again. And then Earl Armstrong came out representing the TNA board of directors, and he said, as of right now, MVP is officially no longer the director of wrestling operations. Didn't explain why or how they came to that decision, really, as far as I know. But at least it's going to be interesting what they're going to do with MVP now that he doesn't have that authority now. So then we see the Menagerie talking to someone on the phone, and apparently it's a whole cash thing. And so he was saying the only way to get the cash back is to get the X Division title, in which Crazy Steve would have to go get it. And so we eventually it led to a four-way match between Sonata, DJ Zima Ion, Crazy Steve, and Manic. The X Division championship match, great match as always. X Division wrestlers are always have some great wrestling matches. So it was definitely a good match. Really liked it. Very cool to see the Bridging Tiger suplex come in. And we had Sonata retaining the title. So it was great to see that kind of match. After that very long promo from EY, and Bobby Roode and MVP and Kenny King and Bobby Lashley. So yeah, it was definitely great to see something more upbeat in the show. It was definitely a great match. Then we go backstage, and MVP and his boys complain about what happened earlier. And he says this is all Dixie Carter's fault. And then Bram and Magnus talk about the Monsters Ball match, which was the main event. And Magnus says that they may have never been in a Monsters Ball, but using things like barbed wire, chairs, bats, etc. used to just be a Friday night for them before they became pro wrestlers. And then Bram says that kind of a fight is nothing for them. So just kind of promoting themselves. Then we had Dixie Carter walk out to the ring with Rockstar Spud. As she was saying she was hoping everyone realized the historical significance of what happened. That led, and he was saying she was saying it was her faith in wrestlers like Bobby Roode to lead her team at Lockdown, and Bully Ray to referee that match. She says that Bully Ray stole her money and turned on him, and all the poor, pitiful people put their faith in MVP to be their savior. She says all the fans that love her so much, the new Dixie Carter 2.0 is going to be better than ever, and she's going to give the fans what they want, which she knows is more of her. Of course, Dixie, we always want more of Dixie Carter. But that's a good heel move, though, by Dixie Carter. So then we had Earl Solomon Armstrong, apparently a full name. Armstrong was thanking Dixie for the kind words and says it was a very tough situation, but there's been a bit of a misunderstanding. He said that there was going to be a new person in place for the director of operations, and Dixie Carter is not that person, which was interesting. Another interesting twist. And Dixie was very mad, and she had wine, and she threw wine in the face of Armstrong. So it showed us a lot of anger from Dixie Carter. And then Bully Ray came out, and Dixie and Rockstar Spud cowered in the corner of the ring. And Bully said he was going to explain to her what is about to happen as the fans chant for tables. And Bully was saying he was going to kick her in the face, and while pointing at Spud, then he's going to drink her champagne as he takes a swig. And he says he thinks that she knows what is going to happen after that. Dixie begs Bully to stop, but she asks him how much money it is going to take. Bully says that he can't hear over the fans chanting for tables. And she asks Bully what it will take and offers Bully $200,000 to stop. Bully says that's a lot of money, and he starts weighing his options to take her money or put her through a table. The fans pop. Obviously, the fans are going to say table all the way. But then we had EC3 coming into the ring, and Bully saw him coming, and he tossed him right over the top. Then Bully Ray came over and kicked Rockstar Spud in the face, like he said he would, and then he cornered Dixie, and Dixie tried to slap Bully, but Bully blocked it, and he lifted Dixie up on his shoulder, and Bully goes to put her through the table, but Spud flips the table over and bails out of the ring as EC3 pulls Dixie Carter to safety. So obviously that was a little bit disappointing, but something happened in the future. So they've already have this set up, if you know what I mean, for something big in the future. So we may not see Dixie Carter go through a table in a while, but hopefully, I know the fans really want to see that, and I kind of do too. So yeah. So then after that, we go backstage, and Dixie Carter is freaking out, and so then she retreats to her car with Rockstar Spud. And Bully was saying she was this close, and he was this close, and he says he will make good on his promise, and he will not rest until he does make good on the promise. And then we had our next match, which was the rematch from Slammiversary. It was a Cowboy James Storm versus Mr. Anderson. James Storm won with the last call. Good. It was a good little match as well. Had some good stuff. It had some good stuff. Again, I can't really tell you too much about this match because it was kind of forgettable, and really the booking was not very. I don't think people really want to see Cowboy James Storm and Mr. Anderson again, but that's what they decided to do, which was a little disappointing. But hey, what are you gonna do? So then we had Gunner coming in to see Sam Shaw in the Nut House, and I can't believe they decided to go back to the story. And he says that after speaking with Shaw's doctors, they have decided to release him, but only under his supervision, under Gunner's supervision, which is interesting to see. And Shaw agreed to it and shook Gunner's hand to seal it. And then we had Storm applauding Sonata backstage, tells him he had a great match, in which he really did. And he's not here to talk about that, though, and he says that Sonata is a protege of one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, the Great Muta. And Storm says that Destination X is right around the corner, and he asks Sonata if he is ready to take the gamble to become world champion, which was quite interesting to see. And then Storm was talking about how proud Muta would be if he won that belt, and how proud the Japanese people would be if he took that belt back to Japan. Storm says that it's a lot of pressure, and asks him what happens if he lost. He asks Sonata what would happen if he chokes, and then Sonata gets in Storm's face, which Storm takes as he does understand what he's saying, obviously, understandably. Storm gets into Sonata's face and screams at him to say whatever he's got on his mind, and he says he knows more about Sonata than he thinks. He tells Sonata good luck, but don't choke, and walks away as Sonata looks down at the floor. And we had Tommy Dreamer jumping EC3 backstage and slamming him through the door. It was great to see. Dreamer back, and just showing that extreme hardcore side again, going right at EC3. And I'm guessing this is setting up a match between Dreamer and Ethan Carter III, which could be interesting and really could help build Ethan Carter III up even bigger, because I think he's a future TNA World Champion there, because the way they've been booking him recently, sure, he's been losing, not so fairly, but he's still being pushed as the guy who beat, Kurt Angle and beat Sting and beat, all these guys. And so it was definitely a very interesting match, or backstage segment. Dreamer just absolutely killed EC3, and they keep fighting, and then finally the referees and Al Snow came out and separated them all. And so Then we go backstage, and Abyss and Willow cut a promo about the main event tonight. And then Abyss says tonight Magnus and Bram will know the true feeling of pain, and then Willow rambles about Abyss having everything they need. Abyss holds up a bag of tacks and smiles, and then Willow asks if she will intend the ball, in which Abyss responds by saying that she is always nearby, obviously alluding to Janice. So then MVP and his boys walk to the parking lot, and they want to talk to the new director of operations in his limo. And MVP, they approach the limo, and but whoever was in there is no longer in there now, and so they beat up the driver, and before they go look for him elsewhere. So then we go to our main event, which was the Monster Ball match. This was an awesome match. This was an awesome match to watch. A lot of great stuff happened, and just it was very, very extreme, and it was cool to watch. So definitely, Bram almost just brutally hurt Janice, which was insane. And just a lot of stuff happened. Willow came in with some kendo shots, then a twist of fate on Magnus, and one for Bram as well. And then Willow climbed to the top, but Magnus obliterated Willow with a chair, and it caused Willow to go right into the barbed wire board at ringside. That was just crazy. And then Abyss grabbed the thumbtacks and just poured it on the mat, and and then Abyss tried to go for a choke slam, but Magnus kicked him in the groin and then grabbed Janice, and then Magnus tries to hit Abyss with Janice, but Abyss grabs him by the throat and chokeslams Magnus into the tacks, which was absolutely brutal. And then Bram grabbed Janice and hit Abyss in the gut as he turns around. 1, 2, 3. This was an awesome match. A great main event. Lot of hard hitting action in that match. It's interesting, this tag team of Abyss and Willow. But Willow needs to stop. I don't like Willow at all. I just no more Willow. Please bring back Jeff Hardy, the one guy who can help your company out so well. Is Willow as Jeff Hardy. Like, you need to do that better. So then we go after the commercial break, and we find out that the new director of operations is Kurt Angle, and he's walking out, and he looked like he still had a limp, but Kurt was saying, guess who's in charge, and it's about time that TNA got their head out of their ass. He says that TNA had made a lot of mistakes in the past, like Dixie Carter and MVP, but Kurt says he doesn't have any secret motives. He says he has accomplished everything he has wanted in wrestling, and all he can do now is give back to the locker room and the fans, and then go to WWE. Oh, sorry, that's not part of the script. Kurt says any of the wrestlers that want to try him in the back is about to get real, damn real. And then Lashley's music hit, and that was pretty awesome to see. And then Kenny King was not able to believe that it was Kurt who replaced MVP, and Kurt says to believe it because he is now his boss. MVP says he knew he had to look out for Dixie, but now Kurt, and he calls Kurt a snitch, suggesting he whined to the board because they kicked him out last week. MVP told Kurt to look deep down inside himself and ask if he has come to terms with all of his personal problems in the past. And then MVP asked if he has all his past demons in check, because he has 3 demons in front of him right now that are about to become his biggest problems, which really escalated quickly. MVP says no one tells them what to do, and they are running things in TNA. And then MVP asked if he really thinks he could tell the hothead Kenny King or MVP or the world champ what they can and can't do. And then MVP said Kurt may have some authority in TNA right now, but they have the power, and he says that they should use the power to end his reign before it even begins. And then Kurt asked MVP if this is really what he wants, and he says if any of them lay a finger on him, he will fire them on the spot. And then Kurt says, you know why? Because I'm the freaking boss, which was a little funny. And then Kurt says Bobby Lashley is going to defend the title against EY next week. I doubt Bobby Lashley is going to drop the title. So definitely interesting. And then Angle said he reinstated Bobby Roode as well, and Roode and Eric Young walk onto the stage, and then they hit the ring and began brawling with Kenny King and Bobby Lashley, and then Impact closed with them brawling. So, after all that stuff that happened on TNA Impact, just some quick results. Gail Kim and Taryn Terrell defeated the Beautiful People. Sonata retained his X Division title against Manic, Crazy Steve, and Zema Ion. And James Storm defeated Mr. Anderson. And in the Monsters Ball match, Bram and Magnus defeated Abyss and Willow. And scheduled for next week is the TNA World Title match between Bobby Lashley versus Eric Young. This was not too bad of a show. The problem is there's way too many promos for a company called Nonstop Action. That's brutal. I mean, it's called Nonstop Action for a reason. So you need to have some action into your show. But the storyline development was pretty solid, and so it's interesting to see where they'll go with this. I'm hoping it becomes better. I'm hoping it gets really good because WWE needs competition, and competition is really what drives the WWE to do better. And so this was a good show. I'd give it a 7. It could have. They just needed more matches instead of boring us with promos. There were some good promos, but then there was some where it just dragged, as you could probably tell, because I was just essentially restating the promos, and maybe making a bit more memorable matches. I mean, the X Division Championship match was great, and the Monsters Ball match was awesome. But I wasn't really into the Mr. Anderson James Storm match, and I wasn't really that much into the Beautiful People versus Gail Kim and Taryn Terrell. But good progress. Hopefully they keep this progress up because I really want TNA to succeed, and hopefully they can succeed because I know that they have the talent in there to succeed, and they're bringing back a lot of talent too to make them succeed. So that was TNA review. So now I'm going to get to some Twitter questions. If you would like to send me Twitter questions for the next show of Raw is Gibby, you can send them to me at Raw is Gibby, and send them to me with the hashtag Raw is Gibby. So I'll go to the first question. So the first question was from at Neve04. Sorry if I said that wrong. And she said, I have been saying I thought Rollins would win the second ladder match, but with Ambrose in, do you think Ambrose, is going to let them win while they're feuding? Ambrose is definitely not going to let Rollins win the Money in the Bank match. And I think it's going to lead to Ambrose and Rollins in a match at SummerSlam. But I could definitely see them going the route where it's Rollins versus Ambrose for the Money in the Bank briefcase, kind of like what they did with Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow. I could definitely see that happen. And maybe that could be a good little incentive for people to watch that match. But I think just a Rollins and Ambrose match on its own is a total sell for me, or I buy into that match. But it'd be a great little incentive to have the Money in the Bank briefcase. And she actually sent a second question, and she said everybody wants Reigns, Cesaro, or Bray Wyatt to win Money in the Bank. Why do they want them to have the belt for 2 months only and then lose it to Lesnar? Because as far as I'm concerned, no one beats Lesnar, and he's going for the belt. That's a great point. But I guess I think people want to see Reigns or Cesaro or Wyatt because they're tired of seeing the same guys win it. So they want to see like new guys win it. So definitely a guy like Roman Reigns, definitely a guy like Bray Wyatt, definitely a guy like Antonio Cesaro to win the Money in the Bank because they want something different in their wrestling matches, and they want something different, and that's why people don't want Cena to win. But at this point, I mean, Cena is probably the best option to win, so that when he drops the title to Brock Lesnar, it doesn't really impact him as much. But you never know. They've been really building up Reigns the past couple of weeks. But I think it's going to be Reigns and Triple H. I think that match is going to be very, very booked, and I think we're going to see Reigns going to try and capture the title, but then Triple H interfering in the match, thus really propelling the rivalry between Triple H and Reigns. And I bet you we're going to see Roman Reigns and Randy Orton at I believe Battleground it's called, and then going into SummerSlam. But yeah, I totally agree with you. It's not really necessary to have them hold the belt for 2 months and then just drop it to Lesnar and not have them accomplish anything. And it's going to be bad if Cena wins because it's going to be his 15th championship and 2 more championships away from beating Ric Flair's record officially, although you could argue he's a 21-time world champion. But it's probably what's best for business, really. If John Cena wins the WWE WWE World Heavyweight Title Money in the Bank match. So the next question is from @Matt Turmoil from the Matt Turmoil podcast. I'm going to actually be featured on the Matt Turmoil podcast on July 3rd. That's a Thursday, so you should definitely go check it out, hear what I got to say. But his question was, who is on your pro wrestling Mount Rushmore? On my pro wrestling Mount Rushmore, Bruno Sammartino definitely has to be there. Hulk Hogan definitely has to be there. I think we'll have Stone Cold Steve Austin, but then I'm torn on the fourth one because I'm debating between either Rock, unfortunately Cena, but Cena may have to be up there, or Vince McMahon. And right now I'm kind of leaning towards Vince McMahon because really he's the guy who created it all. So I think he deserves a spot on the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling. But yeah, those are probably my 4 guys I'd probably pick to put on my Mount Rushmore of wrestling. So next we have a question from @TheJadedSmark. Great account, definitely go check it out. I have a certain amount of respect for Paul, and he's talking about Paul Levesque as in Triple H. I have a certain amount of respect for Paul these days. But I mean, what has he ever done? And that's interesting to point out. What has he ever done? In terms of his business stuff, he's really, really developed NXT. I mean, we always like to joke that Triple H is burying people, but he was the guy who really made NXT come to life and really put more focus on developmental talent. And so I think it was great of them to have that. And so I think Triple H has done quite a bit, but we just give him that perception, really, that he buries people and all that. But he has done some good stuff. Obviously, in his past, he apparently he was a jerk in his past, just like Michaels. But he has done some good things for WWE. Obviously, you're not going to be perfect. I mean, he signed Sin Cara, and they should have just put him in the developmental system first and then let him debut because he wasn't ready for that kind of style of wrestling yet. But it was definitely a good match. He's definitely done some good stuff within WWE, and I think he can definitely run WWE successfully once he eventually takes over. So next we have 3 questions in one from @TraspFanCity. He also has a YouTube channel, and I believe he's also doing a show right now. So after this, you can go check out his show. So his first question: will Brock versus Cena be for the title or non-title in your opinion? Definitely for the title. It'd be insane to have a Brock and Cena match not for the title. The next big thing for Brock Lesnar is to win the title because he defeated The Undertaker's undefeated streak. And so to really push Brock Lesnar as an over-the-top, beast, you have to have him win the world title. And the next question, who is the next NXT champ? I'm not sure. I want to think Tyler Breeze, but I don't think they're going to put the title on him. I think they're going to keep it on Adrian Neville for a little bit. Personally, I I think the next NXT champ is going to be Sami Zayn, probably because of my bias, because I really like Sami Zayn. But he needs to win the NXT championship at least once while he's down there in NXT, because I think he's definitely a worthy contender of the NXT championship. But I wouldn't be totally disappointed if it was Tyler Breeze either, because Tyler Breeze is also a really good character, and I really like Tyler Breeze. And then the third and final question he asked was, "Are you a believer?" Oh yes, I am a big believer. I'm a big believer. I really like. I'm starting to grow into the gimmick now. I wasn't really growing into it when it first debuted, but I do like the Bo Leave gimmick now. I'm starting to grow into it, and I like how Bo Dallas is really going into his character. So yeah, definitely, I am definitely a believer. So thank you, Trask. Definitely go check out his YouTube channel. Final question is from @TheRealWarhood. Who are you, and why am I following you? I am Zachary Gibby. I'm the host of the Raw is Gibby podcast, and you are following me because you want the next big thing. You want to listen to the next big thing in wrestling podcasting. That's why. So thank you all for the Twitter questions. If you want a Twitter question to appear on the show, send me a question to me @RawIsGibby with the hashtag RawIsGibby, and I will be answering your question on the next edition of Raw is Gibby. And so thank you all for your questions. And so for the last segment of the show, I plan on doing some of the big news and rumors going around, and that'll be a little bit quick, and then we're going to wrap up the show. So next, the first big thing of news to come out is Josh Matthews is no longer a WWE employee. I'm disappointed to hear that, because I did like Josh Matthews, and I liked some of his announcing work. I thought he was a good announcer. Apparently, Josh Matthews on the announcers list was very, very low, which is quite disappointing. So he's no longer going to be doing the pre-shows and all of that. So it's probably going to be Renee Young replacing Matthews in that pre-show slot. But yeah, I hope Matthews does something in the future. He's been with that company ever since Tough Enough. Can't remember which season, but I know he's been with the company since Tough Enough. So hopefully Matthews finds some sort of successful job, and I hope he gets better in the future. So another thing of news and I guess you could say rumors is we had oh sorry, I just lost the page, but I remember a big thing of news just coming out today that Alberto Del Rio said that CM Punk is going to be coming back soon. I don't know if you could take him seriously or not, if he's just trying to attract attention on himself. I personally don't mind if CM Punk is gone. I think they've been doing better without Punk as of right now. But he has done some good stuff for the company, so it definitely wouldn't be a bad option. Plus, you'd get some more possible feuds. Like you could maybe see Cesaro versus CM Punk. That'd be a cool match to watch. You could get Bray Wyatt versus CM Punk. I know he had the tag team match with Daniel Bryan, but that'd still be something awesome to watch going into it. Another thing of news, another big set of news is that at the SmackDown teams, which some of you are currently watching, bad news, Barrett got hurt. He separated his shoulder. No word yet on if he's going to participate in the ladder match. I highly doubt that's going to happen though. So hopefully, it's really disappointing to see, because Bad News Barrett was really into his own, was really, really building up some momentum for himself from the from that match, and from his ever since he really debuted, he's really doing well for himself. So it's quite disappointing to see hurt again, and hopefully he's able to do something better for himself. And hopefully too he can get back into full form, and WWE doesn't lose confidence with him, because I don't want him to lose confidence at all. And I don't want them to lose confidence at all in Bad News Barrett, because I think he definitely got to be a top star in that company. So the final, I guess you could say, bit of news. This is maybe a spoiler, okay? So if you wanna just not want to listen to this, that's totally fine. But if you want to listen to this, there's a possible spoiler coming out today, coming out soon, that apparently the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion is going to be John Cena. And I'm not really surprised if that route. Some people are probably going to be mad that that's going to happen, but I think really that's what's best for business right now, is to have Cena win the title. And so really I really think that's the way to go. And hopefully, and he's only going to carry the belt for 2 months, and then Lesnar's going to carry it. That's the plan apparently. So maybe it won't be too bad, and maybe the next guy who beats Lesnar is going to be put over really well. I just wish that Lesnar was on a full-time contract. It would be so much easier for them, and so they don't have to book Lesnar at these massive pay-per-views, because I know they want to get the buys for those pay-per-views, but still it's kind of ridiculous. And so it's just a little disappointing, but what are you going to do? All right, so that was the first ever edition of the Raw is Gibby Live edition of the very first ever Raw is Gibby Live. If you like this show, please leave a comment, say what you like about the show. Give me some tips on how to improve it. I'm always taking comments. I always want to know how I can improve. And I'm just going to leave you off with this video, and I hope you all have a good day. Gibby out.